unless I tell you otherwise, go ahead and type this in and just figure out what window works in this case. You probably had a bit of a hard time finding a good window, but the vertex, right? When this one is in vertex form. So we know that the vertex is negative HK. And so on your study sheet, you should know that this is A, this is H, and this is K, right? We don't have ABC unless it's a standard form, right? So we actually can easily just state the vertex. We just change the value. That negative changes the value of that. So that'd be 15, 20, right? So positive 15, 20, that would be a mark right there. If I asked you to explain, you would say, given that this is in vertex form, and you can say ax minus h squared plus k, right? Given that it's in that form, the values of h and k give me the coordinates of the vertex. You go back in your notes, we did cover that. So there we go. That actually gives me some indication, right, that my window, I'm going to go x max. If this is 15, right, I probably expect more than that. So I would go 30 for x max for now. I'm going to change it. And I also know that this is pointing down, right? That's why we want to know the behavior. A is negative, so I know this is happening. So I need to probably focus on my y min. Okay, so you already know that it's a couple thousand, right? But let's say you didn't know that at first, you just went minus 50. Oh, there you start seeing something, right? So this helped you. Somebody use Zoom Fit, right? Luca, use Zoom Fit. Maybe that's something you want to explore, right? If you want to try it, Zoom. I'm not I don't want you to rely on Zoom Fit for everything. I want you to know the behavior. That's way better than just gambling with, but that's what Zoom Fit would show you, right? It tries to figure out a scale for everything to make most of the graph appear. That's basically what it's going to try to do. But let's see here. X max could probably be a bit more. And Y min, watch what it did. It went to minus 11,000, right? And Y max, it's a computerized system, right? So we don't know exactly how they come up with those numbers, but they do, right? So anyways, let's figure out the rest. We didn't need the calculator really for the vertex. The number of x-intercepts explain. So I would say this, right? There will be two x-intercepts, y, right? Comma, since the signs of A and K are opposite, right? That's also in your notes, right? If A is positive, it points up, right? Sorry, in this case, it's negative. A is negative, right? Points down. And K is positive, right? Which means the vertex is above the x-axis, right? Something like that, right? K being positive. In your notes, I gave you the 3 scenarios. If K is equal to 0, then you'd have exactly 1. If K is equal to 0, if this value at the end there's 0, it's not there, you know that the vertex is exactly on your x-axis, so whether it points up or down, it doesn't matter. It just touches it once at the vertex, I might add. Right? So that's some of the explanation there to get full marks. And then see what's the y-intercept. I asked you to use algebra for that. And so this is technically what I mean by that. x is equal to 0, right? So it's negative 17.89, 0 minus 15 squared plus 20. Right? So that would be the first step. So you got to show me a few steps there. So negative 17.89. This would just be negative 15 squared, right? You got to watch out. If you just go like that, you're going to get a negative, right? So it's technically all of like negative 15 squared like this. Just like the quadratic formula, you have to watch out for that. So this turns out to be 225 plus 20. So on my calculator, I'm just going to get the 225 multiplied by negative 17.89. And that is negative 4,025.25 plus 20. Right, so just add 20 to your answer. And the answer is negative 4,005.25. Right? What did you just find? You found the point 0, negative 4,005.25, which is on this curve. You can plug in any value. You know, when we go second trace value, x is equal to something, you can plug in any value here and technically come up with the y value that way. You could do it by hand every time. Whether it is in general form or vertex form, it doesn't matter. Okay. So 1 mark for that or 2? 1 mark. If you have this showing up, I give you 1 mark already. If you just used your calculator, today no mark for that, okay? Because I wanted the steps there on how you do it by hand, right? Manually. But if I don't specifically tell you to do that, you just go ahead and find and use your calculator for it. And anyways, this gave us indication that our y min had to go way down, right? Like minus 5,000 would probably be a good one. Okay, coordinates of the x-intercept. I'm going to do that right here. y2 is equal to 0, second trace 5. And by the way, I did pick this equation because I didn't want it to be too easy to find the y-intercept, right? I wanted you to do it by hand, right? So y2 is equal to 0. Let's go ahead and try to find that. Second trace 5. One of them is 16.060, and the other one is 13.940. Right? Those are my x-intercepts. Please do not fall for, watch out, like y is supposed to be 0. Sometimes the calculator will have like a number, but then you will see e to the negative 6 or 7 or 9. It's 0, okay? Don't fall for that. Because if you put a number other than 0 here, you're not finding the y-intercept. It's such a small number, the calculator sometimes tries to give you that, right? All right, if you know anything about computer science, you probably will know that it's doing a loop until it finds them. And sometimes it gives you a very small number for the y, but it's really supposed to be 0 for us. Okay, D. No, we did that. Never mind. D is done. Right here. E, the fun part, graphing. Not, right? So I'm going to do that back here. So obviously you have a limited amount of space, right? So you can't, but you know that most of the action happens somewhere here, right? Like based on my graph, it's mostly quadrant 4 going a little bit, but it does go over the x-axis, we know that. So how would you graph something like this? Right, x, y, I would definitely look for that. And I need to fit 4,000 in here. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Negative 1,000, negative 2,000, right? It doesn't matter what the numbers are, you adjust accordingly. Which means that here, it needs to be 1,000. You can't deviate from it, right? You can't change it here. And then for the X, I'm going to go, what is it, 13? Give me 1 second. 1394 and 16, right? So I'm going to go 5, 10. Oh, that's not equally spaced out. Sorry. I'm going to redo this. 5, 10, 15, 20. Okay. So that's kind of my game plan there. And so one is 1394, which is right about here, and one is 16 something, which is right about there. Okay. And the vertex is 15, 20. So it's basically like based on our scale here, it's gonna be basically, it looks like it's touching, but we're gonna make sure that it doesn't quite do that. And then the y-intercept is negative 4,000, something like that, right? And so you just make it look like that. H of x is negative 17.87 x minus 15 squared plus 20. There it is. Okay, so not the fairest, but it's an AC, so I can do that, right? It still makes you think. I want you to think outside the box. So I'm just going to do over here just to make sure. Right? This is technically 5, right? 5, 10, 15. So you're saying I'm using the same scale in either direction. Okay. Anybody use the trick to find the point out here? Remember, I think Luca did, right? I saw you draw a line, y2 is equal to 4,000, negative 4,025, and then you find the point out here. Today, I just let it go, right? Just make it look symmetric, and then we're talking, right? Then we're happy. Okay. I have the intercepts, vertex. Doesn't look very symmetric, does it? No. Good enough. Okay, so I would basically say, like, if your scale is good, right? Scale is usually worth a full mark. Intercepts is usually a full mark, and then labels. Labels, I would give you another mark for that. Did I say 4 marks on this one? We'll make it 3 anyways, because I don't give more than 3 normally for graphs. Okay. And so I will let you keep this one. I hope it was still a challenge for you, right? And you learned something. Make sure you learn something. Not everything is always worth marks, right? Like sometimes it's just, it will eventually be, right? So you get to keep this